Hi, I'm Dr. Claire Lynch of the Doris and Bertie Writing School, and I'm on a mission to help you become a better, more confident writer. Today on the channel, fewer or less, which should you use and when? Now, this is a grammar issue that many grammar fiends get very cross about. People will post huge long rants about seeing a sign saying 5 items or less in their local Tesco's supermarket, because apparently there's a rule that says less is wrong here and that it should actually read 5 items or fewer. Now, interestingly, this rule was only invented in the 18th century by an amateur linguist called Robert Baker. And if Robert Baker were around today, he'd tell you that 5 items or fewer simply sounds better to his ears than 5 items or less. So not that 5 items or less is wrong or grammatically incorrect or even more natural sounding to most of us, but that 5 items or fewer would have been Robert Baker's personal preference. Still, many people do still like to observe a difference between less and fewer. But equally, many people use them today interchangeably. So, only if you care about what grammar fiends think, let's take a look at the difference that not everyone, but careful writers, and I will admit it, that does include me, tend to observe between fewer and less. So to understand the difference between fewer and less, you first need to know what countable and uncountable nouns are. If you don't, do check out my last video on uncountable nouns and then pop back here. I'll put a link to it below. Okay, done that? Great. Now you know what countable and uncountable nouns are. The difference between fewer and less is simply that fewer is used with countable nouns and less with uncountable nouns. For example, I have fewer apples than I need for the recipe. Apples is countable, you can count the number of apples sitting on the table, and so you should technically, if you're in Robert Baker's camp, only say fewer apples, not less apples. Although of course many people don't share Robert Baker's preference. Anyway, let's compare that with I have less rice than you do. Rice is uncountable. We generally wouldn't say 3 rices, unless we're being really quite colloquial. We'd talk of grains of rice or bowls of rice. So it's fine, according to the Bakerites of the world, to use less here. Interestingly, I don't think anyone would ever say fewer rice here. That just sounds odd to everyone's ears. Now, there are other instances where the distinction between less and fewer is less clear-cut, and where there may be exceptions to this rule that even grammar fiends would accept. But that's for another day. Or maybe the online course that I'm in the process of making and which I talked about in my last video. By the way, let me know in the comments if you like the sound of a course on advanced grammar tips for English language learners. Let me know in the comments too if you found this video helpful and what you think of the distinction between fewer and less. Are you on Team Tesco and happy to save 5 items or less? Or are you on Team Robert Baker, such that 5 items or less sounds hideous to your ears? Let me know, and in the meantime, I'm Dr. Claire Lynch of Doris and Bertie. If you liked this video, hit that like button, it really helps the channel get noticed. Subscribe to the channel too, and share it with your friends.